Greetings petrolheads, welcome back to Automation, the car company tycoon game. I know it's been a while since I've said that. And originally I said I'm gonna play Automation again once the game is ported over to the UE4, which at that point we all thought was gonna be around Christmas time last year. So yeah, I just thought I'd get back into it. Do not expect a daily series in the near future yet. Who knows what's gonna happen a little bit later. But for now I want to start you guys off with another community challenge. So the theme of this community challenge is making a budget Japanese sports car. So think of something like a Nissan 240SX, perhaps a Miata, perhaps, you know, something along those lines. The rules, before we get into them in detail, the rules are going to be in the description below, so you can read them out while you're building a car. Right. So the year is going to be between 1995 and 2000, and the car should be a two-door front-engined coupe. Now, whether that's one that's based on a saloon or a saloon car like this one, or whether it's one that only has a coupe-style body anyway. And by the way, a two-door roadster is fine too. Something if you want to use the Miata-esque body shell. So it can be front-engined only, but it can be front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive. Obviously no carbon fiber, which probably isn't gonna fit the budget anyway, but also no pushrod suspension, because that's a little cheeky for the 90s, don't you think? Pushrod suspension is not really the kind of thing you'd see in a budget sports car. Alright, engine-wise, I'm gonna allow anything up to and including 6 cylinders, because again I think V8s or V12s are a little overkill for the sort of car that we're building here. And you know, you could use an inline 3, although for most players I imagine the choice is going to be between an inline 4 or an inline 6/V6. But if you want to make an inline 3 work, then that's totally fine too. It does have its advantages, of course. The displacement limit is 2.5 liters for naturally aspirated engines and 2 liters for a turbo engine. In 1997 or 98, I think, titanium conrods become available, although again, it doesn't really fit the theme here. You can use VVL if you want to. You can use turbos if you want to. No race intakes or race exhausts. And overall, the power limit is 200 horsepower. So whether you go with turbo or NA, the power limit is 200 horsepower. Obviously, with a displacement limit of 2.5 liters, there's many different ways you can get there. You don't have to. It doesn't have to make 200 horsepower though. And one of the judging criteria will be the ability to mod the engine. So what do I mean by that? For example, on this engine right here, which by the way, this car is not the reference car that you'll be going up against on my part, although technically of course I can't win the competition anyway because I'm the host. So in any case, the reference car will be different. I'm just using this here in order to demonstrate everything. So with modability, I mean the potential of power that the engine still has within it. So for example, this engine with a 45 cam profile and 60 VVL profile is nowhere near its max. Like the max would be 100, of course, for each. So there's a lot of things you can still improve on this engine to make more power. without having to go turbocharged. So for example, if I'm gonna set this back to these settings afterwards, by the way, but if we set this up like this and then rev the crap out of it, not only does this compromise reliability, but also if it was tuned this way, like the engine is pretty close to its maximum potential anyway, without using, you know, very high quality parts or turbocharging it. And as a result, there's no real cheap way of modding it and get some extra power out of it. That's what I mean with that. Of course, if your engine is already turbocharged, you know, because the power limit is 200 horsepower, and with the displacement limit for turbos being 2 liters, there shouldn't be that much trouble getting 200 horsepower from a 2-liter turbo if you want it. And it's gonna have a decent amount of potential left in it as well. However, of course, you could also go with a 2-liter turbo that just makes more mid-range torque, and, you know, maybe 170, 180 horsepower, like a Nissan 240SX. And then there's a lot of things you could change about the turbo setup, or give it more aggressive cams, etc, etc, and that will also make it so you can get a lot more power out of it. Yeah, so and of course a good premise for modability is a decent engine reliability to start with, because if your engine is already pretty close to its limit and therefore, you know, reliable out of the box, but as soon as you take it a little bit further, it's gonna compromise reliability a great deal. If that's the case, then it's also not a very moddable engine. So I hope that explains it. Let's move on. Also, one thing I did forget to mention in the video, but is definitely in the description in the rules, is 91 octane, like regular 91 octane fuel is what we're building here, because that's what most of the cars of this type were running on. Why the 200 horsepower power limit? Because think of an entry-level Japanese sports car and how much power they were making. The 240SX was making 170 horsepower. The Honda Integra Type R, which is, you know, pretty much in the upper scale of entry-level sports cars, in my opinion, that made 193 horsepower. So 200 seems like a pretty good deal. This is this is one of those type of cars that, you know, if you're like 25 and you've worked for a couple of years already and saved your money, you could reasonably afford. So there's also there will also be the budget that we're going to be talking about later on. Yeah, and there is that. More restrictions and rules. No restrictions here. You can use an automatic or manual transmission with however many gears you want. No semi-slicks, of course, because we're talking road cars here. Reasonably priced road cars. No magnesium rims, again for the sake of price. Vented discs are allowed. You can use pretty much any under tray here that you want. Don't think there's any restrictions here, except for the fact that they need to be making at least 35 safety. So if you don't make 35 safety with basic with basic safety equipment, you're gonna have to add a little bit of weight and get the standard safety equipment. If that's still not enough, it's gonna have to be advanced. No active springs on the suspension, because that's again a little bit too high-end for the sort of car that we're building here. And that's pretty much it. The price should be less than $25,000 with a plus 20% markup, and that also means you can use quality sliders pretty much as you want, if for as long as you keep under $25,000 with the plus 20% markup. So submissions are open until let me see, until 13th of February. That should be Sunday in 2 weeks from now. So you have 2 weeks to build your car. Check out the description once again to make sure your car applies to all the rules. If I forgot to mention anything in this video here while talking, but it's still stated in the rules below, it still counts as a rule. I'll also provide the email address to which you can send your entries, and I'm looking forward to reviewing your cars. And of course I haven't revealed the reference car yet, and it also uses a different body from this car, so everything's different. So I'm looking forward to getting your reviews, to getting your entries rather, I should say. And yeah, have fun building. I'll see you next time.